What I'd like to share today is some time, spending a moment talking about, the roles we play in the world. And I'm glad that a couple of you kind of were asking questions along these lines. So bear with me because we have some really important things to share in this. The roles we all play in the world. And this is very important because we're all playing kind of a part. We're all playing a part or a role in this cosmic dance. And it's really strange because in one respect, we are one. Just one perfect, with God. It's just this perfect presence that we share with God in reality. Then we came into the earth plane, and on our way in, we seemingly refracted from this one with God into kind of group souls. Group souls or archetypes. Archetypes kind of, within any archetype, there are many, many countless of millions of souls. But there are these archetypes. And then we refracted even more into individuality, individual souls. And on earth, there's even spiritual teachers that are telling you the importance of you becoming an individual, very unique. And all that does is perpetuate the refraction. The truth is, as we wake up, we will return into the groups, the archetypes, and then into the oneness with God. And it's kind of funny because your teachers out there, they're saying these things, but they're contradicting that idea. They're teaching individuation when in fact oneness is the key. And people don't even realize they're contradicting. When they talk about, honor, differences. Everybody should honor each other's difference and so on and so on. Their difference of ideas, their difference of opinions. And you can't say no to that because when you're just a human, you do need to respect each other's differences. But so that we could become no longer different, if that makes any sense. You see what I'm saying? You don't honor the differences to perpetuate it. You honor it because in honoring it, it's love. And then the love starts bringing us closer together where we no longer need to be different. It's all very messy, very confusing. People that are weird or, just screwed up humans aren't going to want to hear this. Because they're going to be like, don't you dare take away my ability to be different from everyone. God created us one and God is one. If you insist on being different, all it does is affirm how messed up you are. That's meaning, I want to be me. I don't want to be with God. Which is okay. That's called a tantrum. You can have tantrums, but it just doesn't bring you peace. So I'm not telling you there's an easy answer because it's confusing. There are moments when I would say, you are unique. You'll hear me say that. And it'll sound like I'm contradicting. All we need to solve the contradiction, all we need to do is understand it. Which is, we began as one, we will return into oneness. In the meantime, we went from being one into variations. But the variations only came from our belief that we separated from God and from each other. The problem is we became addicted to my being different from everyone else. Why do I need to be different? Because I want to be special. All that is an insecurity talking. There are people that are afraid of becoming one with God because they think, I'm afraid of disappearing. That might not be a bad thing if you look at yourself once in a while and your behaviors. It might not be such a bad thing for you and your behaviors to disappear into love. But if that scares you, that scares us. It scares us that it scares you to think that my being one with God could be a horrible thing. That's scary. So, each of us, though, is seemingly playing a part. And we have to start learning to look at that. What part do you want to play? If you die tomorrow, what part would you be most happy? A state of joy. What would bring you a state of joy for the part you play? Is the part you playing right now, today, enough? And so I'm going to talk a little bit about that in just a second. So it's kind of like you could say there's an orchestra and each person plays a part. That's a good example. Or if somebody's building a house, you have electricians, you have carpenters. Everybody's playing a part. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So in life, it's the same thing. We can say, each person, we can be all poetic for a second. Poetic, not literally, but just meaning kind of beautiful. We look at this like, wow, from the big picture. Wow, isn't it amazing, guys? that building a house, I could do a talk like it. You guys would think I was serious. Isn't it amazing that carpenters, electricians each play their part? You'd be like, oh, that's so beautiful. But I'm not done yet. Because all it is we're all playing a role. It's just an act. And we're all just each playing a part. So the orchestra, each person's playing in the orchestra their part. And when we go look at that amazing violinist, until they lose the individuality and play together, the orchestra isn't really doing its fullest. If you want to be a soloist, why have the rest of us there? What's happening there? Microphone problems. That's not doing it. Interesting. Now it's off completely.
Well, that's the microphone for the camera.
This is?
Yeah.
Oh, and it's causing feedback. So you guys will just need to check that out later. Okay. So, all these heads start appearing through the curtain. So, in the orchestra, we can say each person's playing a part, and that's beautiful. But I'm saying, in a sense, the greatest of them is coming out when they let go of their individuality and become part of something. Making sense there? Much like us. We sit and kind of praise, how each person, it's a magnificent thing. Look at an orchestra and all the people playing their parts. We're forgetting, though, that it's the oneness that brings the best out of everyone. But that takes letting go of our need to be special, our need to stand out. We probably all have seen a movie somewhere out there where someone out, in that orchestra either starts blowing their part or starts wanting to stand out above all the rest. And it creates, in a sense, no matter how talented they are, it creates what we call inharmony. Something breaks up. Something's not quite right. So when we look at the world, we should start to recognize, for a second, that everything plays its part. And that means every religion plays a part. So let's imagine this for a second. I'm still going to get us back to the point is we're all one. But for a moment, let's learn to respect. But here's how I want to explain this. If I tell you you need to just respect everyone's beliefs, respect everyone's needs, respect everyone's individuation, that sounds very good. And it is okay to do if that's where you are. But that's only the start. What starts to happen then is as we grow, we stand back and we see a bigger picture to it all. We don't just say, well, I guess I have to honor your beliefs. I have to honor, it's like still a duty, an obligation. There's a point where you really get it, where you no longer are having to honor people's anything. What starts to happen is you honor it because you see it for what it really is. For example, I'm going to honor each religion. Now here's what somebody could do. I'm a such and such religion. I'm religion X or spiritual beliefs X. And I honor your beliefs. Okay? Because they're separate from mine, but I honor them. That's not the highest yet. Why do you honor them? Well, because we should. Really, underneath it is, I don't believe in what you're doing at all. But I just want to seem nice. That's not the highest, man. So check this out. What if we start to realize all religions and belief systems fall under an archetype? There are earthy ones, fiery ones, airy ones, and so on. Watery ones, and so on. Each of them thinks the other is wrong, by the way. But it's very intriguing. So, I could sit here and say, guys, we need to honor paganism, Catholicism, all the earth traditions, Islam, this religion, that religion. We need to honor them all. And they sound like they're separate things that I'm telling you to honor. But wait. Each of them falls into an archetype. There are earth religions, which is your root chakra. There are water religions, which is your emotional chakra. There are fire religions or thought systems or belief systems that are your fire chakra. There are air religions that are your air chakra. So the Buddhist, you might go, oh, Buddhism's so amazing. I love wearing my mala beads. That doesn't make you a Buddhist. You're just kind of I won't say it. So you're just wearing mala beads. It doesn't mean you actually practice it. You know, people don't actually understand these things. There are people that say, my religion is healthiness. And then they light up a cigarette. I eat all organic foods. And it's so strange. There are people in this town, I've met many, who actually, as they crack open a beer, are telling people about how important it is to eat hummus or whatever that stuff's called. It's like, really? People just don't really get what they're doing. But here's what I'm saying is cool. All the religions that you think one is better than another, they're all actually right here, found in your own chakras. Every earth religion is an expression of my root chakra, my earth center. There's no Buddhism that's better than another. All Buddhism is an expression of our heart center. Love and compassion. That's all it is. It can't be better than anyone or anything else. Do you see what I'm saying? Name anything. And it's one of our chakras, particularly our 4 human chakras. Tell me anything you like doing. Oh, I like gardening. Usually you might consider that. I'm not saying anything's restricted only to one chakra, but tell me you like gardening. Tell me you like health food. It's probably a root chakra thing because you're dealing with your health, your physical self. Tell me you're into the power of the mind. I'm really into the law of abundance, the law of manifestation. All that is a mental chakra. Nice job. Just mental chakra. I'm not dissing it. I'm just saying it's just here. There's nothing that's actually better than anything else. So everything looks like, let's respect each other's religions. You don't need to respect them. See them for what they are. Everything is nothing but an expression of who we are. Our soul refracting into religions. And I have them all within me. You're not one religion and I'm another. We're all of them. You just think you're one of them or another. And you've heard me make fun of traditions and religions sometimes, but not because I don't respect them. I make fun of them when each of them thinks they're the only one. Right? It's just like, there's that joke, you can apply any particular religion into it, but there's that joke, where someone says, someone passes away and they go before the gates of heaven, and they're saying, they die and it's like, well, we have to see, if you're welcome to come in. And at some point they determine, okay, you're welcome to come in. You were a good, whatever, we'll name any Catholic or whatever. You were a good Catholic, and so come on in and there are all the other Catholics. Oh my God, and all the Catholics are celebrating because they're the ones that made it to heaven. And then there's this, wall over here and they can hear some partying on the other side of the wall. And the guy says, What's the partying going on the other side? Oh, there's the Protestants. They think they're the only ones here too. So it's kind of like that. Each person thinks they've got the only thing. And hear what I'm saying. I'm not teaching respect the other guy's beliefs. I'm saying the other guy's beliefs are yours too. You follow what I'm saying there? Everybody's just playing roles. I'm not a pagan now. You're my pagan. I'm not a Catholic. You're my Catholic. You're just expressions of these parts of myself. And that allows me to start to see the hypocrisy in any of them, to say, what does that reflect in me that I might work on? But also the honorable pieces. To really sit and go, God, what humans do is go, they're happier than me. I'm going to join their religion. You already have it. You just haven't learned to absorb it yet. You don't have to join their thing and go, well, now that I wear what they wear, I'm going to be happy. And it doesn't happen. I remember one time when I was a kid and I went to a particular church or center and was visiting. And, I was listening to everybody and they're talking about their traditions and their beliefs and whatever. And I remember that I looked and I went, there was one thing out of the whole experience at this particular church that blew my mind. And it wasn't doctrine and it wasn't dogma. I was sitting there in the office listening to the elders talking, the importance of and the dogmas. And I was like, okay, I respect it. It's cool. I get it. And I looked outside and I watched this gal walking down the sidewalk. She stopped. No, she didn't know anybody could see her. But she stopped and she looked at this rose and and you can just see her like, oh. And I was like, That's my religion. Everything she was experiencing was, in that moment though, I absorbed it. I was like, wow, I was absorbing her absorption of the rose. See, I don't have to become the religion to have that rose bush outside. That's too literal. So I'm like realizing, all these religions are just expressions. But I wonder if there's any other expressions besides traditional religions, let's say. There's something that I talk about called Christ consciousness. The Christ center is not one of these four. Christianity is. It's the emotional one. Christianity is not the highest vibrational of any of these. And I wouldn't even get into, well, wait, Michael said the Buddhist one was the heart. That's above the others. Hey, you know what? If I was a practicing high integrity pagan of a root chakra versus a hypocritical Buddhist of the heart, I would take the root one. I won't call one higher than another. It depends on whether you're practicing it or not, if it's real or not. However, Christ consciousness is not a religion. It's a consciousness. And Christ consciousness is in the throat center. That's the throat chakra. That's the Christ center. Don't get me wrong, I'm not pushing any Jesus-y thing or a Christian thing. I'm saying the consciousness, this thing we call the I am presence of God or Christ consciousness. Don't lower it to any other names but something holy. God consciousness, Krishna consciousness, I am consciousness, Christ consciousness, anything like that. But don't call it anything else. Don't call it Gandhi consciousness. Don't call it Michael consciousness, because those are still human levels. Don't call it a religion. If you're going to understand that there's a higher one, it's not a thing that's higher. It's a consciousness. And that's when we learn to surrender to God in a more complete sense. And yet I'm on the earth. I choose to, I being meaning any of us, I choose to identify with this divinity. Let me know my divinity. And that's not a religion or a dogma. But I ask every day for God, remind me of my divinity. Show me. What does divinity do? How does it act? How does it feel? How does it respond? And that becomes our focus. And in that, we can still look upon the world, meaning the lower chakras. We can still look upon the world and say, wow, it's all okay. See, I don't have to be a human pretending to be accepting of other religions. I actually understand the roles we all play. I'm in this Christ consciousness. I don't know if any of you have heard. Wednesday night I do this online course, the Development of the Inner Christ course. And in that course, just this last Wednesday, somebody brought up a particular name. In all the Kabbalah, you can identify with each of the placements of the Kabbalah, the levels of consciousness, and the tree of life. And you can identify an angel to each of these. Each center, is this angel or that angel. But it's very interesting. A lot of people don't understand the real roles of angels in the world. It's roles they play. Even the angels are playing a role. They're messengers of God. They're people that can bridge the absolute consciousness to the human, mundane human plane. But you and I are supposed to be living angels. We're not supposed to be humans needing the help of the angels. We're supposed to become those angels that some people worship. We're supposed to start embodying that. And you go, okay, that means I have to wear white all the time. And I wonder if I should buy one of those fake pairs of wings. No, man, that's too literal. You'll just look kooky. It's how do you become more angel-like? It's learning to let things not, bother you so much. But why? Because you're stoic? No. The only way we can actually grow and learn to not let this world get to us so much is learning to see through it. See it for what it is. Not just, I'm going to practice not reacting. Then you're still just stuffing something and trying to not react. The key is to actually understand it. To not get all fussed out about it, because you get it. Everybody's playing a role. And the angels play their roles. And archangels versus angels, regular angels. And, people don't even realize, like, the name Michael. That's only the human name for Michael. He has another name that people don't know. There's a secret name for Michael that most people don't know. Or there's a name in all of the Kabbalah tree. There's, all these Hebrew names for all the angels, but there's one that's not a Hebrew name and nobody understands why. His name's Metatron. And they wonder, well, how come there's all these angelic names, but there's this one guy who is angel, that's not named like the others with a Hebrew name? Because Metatron means beyond the matrix. And it's because it's the angel that's not even, it's like a bridge to the human world, but it's beyond this world. And Metatron is, in ancient lore, the angelic name of Jesus, who then pierces through the veil, awakens everyone to their Christ self potentially. So here he is playing the role of Metatron, which is I am beyond the matrix, which is why I can die and resurrect and come back, because I don't believe in this. I see through it. I've always said Jesus didn't have to go, okay, they want this walking on water thing. Okay. Man, I hope this works. Okay. He didn't have to make himself walk on water. It's like in the book Illusions by Richard Bach. There's an interesting part where he says, I'm going to walk on water and swim in the earth. When you understand it's not there, you can do anything. You don't make yourself go, okay, I'm going to do that one trick, that technique I learned in yogi school. I'm going to walk on water. You don't, there's not a doing involved when you really get miracle working. It's as though more like you know a secret. The water's not even there. So how can I not decide, I'll just walk on it, because it doesn't matter. It's not real. So for us to overcome this world, to rise others from the dead or to rise ourselves from the dead, it's not a trickery. It's not what level of intensity you furrow your brow and command it per se. It's actually a belief system. So we're each playing roles. And there's a point where we start to go, I look at the world and just start to go, wow, this is intriguing. Look around. One day all the filters will be gone and nobody will be playing roles anymore, believe it or not. But right now, we look around and go, a child, a fireman, a gardener, a religious person, a neighbor, somebody driving down the street in a car that's barely working, another person gliding down the road in their perfect Rolls Royce. And all they are is roles. That's all they are is images. It's not actually the way it seems to be. Everybody's just kind of playing a game. Good guys, bad guys, it's actually just roles. And that's why that Ho'oponopono prayer of ancient Hawaii is saying, I'm sorry in its prayer, because it's saying, I'm sorry for allowing my mind to believe in the role that you're projecting. When you played sick, oh, you're sick. Oh, poor thing. Let me try a prayer that might help you. Let me try some body work that might fix you. Means I already bought that you're sick. Now I'm trying to fix you. That makes no sense. Let me confirm that you're sick and then try to fix it. The sickness and the belief systems are all in the mind. The roles we play, they're all in the mind. So it would be better if I can retire you from the role of being sick than it would be for me to try to fix your sickness. That's why medicines can't work, but that's just another role. Hi, I'm a well-educated physician. It could be a 5-year-old that comes up to you and hugs you with love that might heal you, but it might be the physician. They're just roles. And when we start to realize the poor person, the rich person, the well-educated, the non-educated, all they are is people playing roles. And again, when those roles look like they're a limitation, a sickness, a problem, they're presenting it to us in part to say, would you help me lift this burden? And when you go, oh, because they don't say that, would you help me lift this burden? They say, guess what? I've got some big problems. Oh, it sounds like it, which means you just affirmed it. Oh, I'm sick. Oh, really? Are you okay? No, they say it's terrible. It sounds terrible. Let me affirm that for you. Oh my goodness. And now everybody's pitching into that. Underneath the appearance of a sickness, there's deeper words going on, which are, I'm scared. Can you help me not believe in this? And that's where a holy mind makes miracles happen. Because there's a part of you saying, despite what you think is happening, I'm surrendering that belief for us. For us. I am allowed to choose to change something for us. I can change it for me or for us. I can't change you because you have free will. But I can change us because we're connected. So I can say, I'm sorry, I don't have to verbalize it this way, but I'm sorry that you feel sick. I see that as a calling today, and I'm going to step up and help. Despite the way things look, guess what? You're as holy as anyone else. You're as holy as the day God created you as holy. So let's go ahead and let this go. And imagining. That's why some people that do affirmations where they visualize people becoming really healed and whole, that's why they start to heal often, because you're actually getting closer to real consciousness when you're affirming people's health. When you're visualizing them looking really perfectly healthy. You're still practicing technique, but it's a higher technique. So we're all part of that original Christ that God created, that original child of God or children of God. And we're playing all these roles. So think about it today when you're driving. Think about it if you're in a grocery store parking lot. Look at the different roles. It's a fascinating thing to sit back and watch people. There's one lighting up over there, a cigarette, because they're an addict to cigarettes. There's another one that's got children, newborns, the diaper, in the car, and they're fixing them up to take them in their stroller. And it's kind of humorous to watch it all. Wow, look at us. We all are playing roles, and then when you can see that for what it is, there's this attitude adjustment, and you drop it all, and you start to realize, God, underneath it all, imagine that we're all just beings of light, not doing anything but being. And you imagine it. There was a person in some other country starving and war all around him. But when you see that in everyone there's this being of light, there's nothing of the war that can touch them. They're just sitting in holiness. Outside it looks weird and dark and scary. But inside there's nothing that can touch our real being. So there's this presence of all these beings of light. And we've just forgotten how to see it. So we learn to drop the roles. We learn to drop the roles of good guy and bad guy. And, people living in the light are just people playing that role for now. People living in the dark who are angry and hateful, they're just playing the role. Now, I can say this and I can end it right there. And some of you can go, yeah, that was kind of amazing. The idea of just forgiving and letting go of the roles people play. And you'll act like you got it. Then you'll go home and you'll watch a speech by the president. Or someone like that. And you'll go, oh, this doesn't apply to them. It does. Everyone's just playing roles. Believe it or not. Let go of the judgments of this one and that one. This one should defeat that one in an election. Or this one should beat that one in a game, a baseball game or whatever. And not get caught up in it anymore. It's kind of funny if you think about it. From heaven's standpoint, these people hitting a ball with a stick and running around bases, and people going nuts over it. When you're in heaven, you're like seriously? This is the only thing they could come up with for a Sunday afternoon or whatever days they play baseball? It's kind of funny. And when you really see it, it almost becomes more enjoyable because you can sit there with a smile in your heart watching the game and not caught up in it. And you know that there's a description of this. It's called being in the world, but not of the world. And that's what we're talking about. Everybody's just playing these roles. In the world, not of the world. And if you've got a child at school today, and you should go pick them up. You shouldn't go, well, they're just roles. I'm actually not the parent. It's just temporary roles, and the kids with an umbrella in the rain, mom's done it. Dads must be having another holy experience because they surely aren't here picking me up, So the last part of what I want to share is this, that the realization that we're separate from God can refract. And again, we went from one with God to greater groups, collective groups, and archetypes to individuals. But one of the most helpful things that's ever brought people towards a greater understanding is when they get back to groups. So it's right that you become part of a group. Some people say, oh, that's old school. No, no, no. It's going home. When you learn to get along in groups. So it's right to not just do your solo prayer meditation things out on the Red Rocks and learn to come and sit in a group of people. But that's just a symbol of a deeper thing we're doing, which is groups of love. Learning to love more people. When you start to study people, originally it was wrong to take us from oneness into groups and start saying, you're this kind of group and that kind. Then we became individuals and we split even further. But going home, there's a right way to do it. There's a right way to be an individual and a wrong way. The individual who's selfish or I want to be special is in their wrong mind, ego mind. The one that says, we're all here to present the presence of God to each other. And I do have a unique way of doing it that's different from you and you different from me. That's a healthy uniqueness, not a specialness of ego. But then we start going towards groups, which is like this, to say, there's astrological types, planetary types. Bach, the Bach flower creator, he found that there are archetypes of people, and he realized flower remedies would work for different groups of people. There's Enneagram types. See what I'm saying? Goddess types, God types, mythology, right? So archetypes can help us learn now about ourselves because we realize as much as I seem like an individual, when I start to realize my archetype, it can tell me more about myself. My astrological archetype can tell me my potential weaknesses or gifts. And obviously, I need to learn of the weaknesses and to retire them and nurture the gifts. Or Enneagram type or whatever else is out there. So these are just momentary pieces. We're just, we've got to get to a place of retiring them. But probably the most important archetype to understand is this. There are really only 3. And I'll narrow those down. 12 astrological archetypes, X number of, psychological types and all that. They all fall under 3 things. Being totally awake, waking, and sleeping. And most people are not totally awake, so it narrows it down to 2. Are you sleeping or waking? And I think it's safe to say, at the very least, we all do a little of each. There are days fully awake physically, but when I'm asleep in consciousness, meaning we're not in touch with our divinity or the divinity of the other people around us. That's sleeping. But I could say, I'm waking. That's Waking didn't mean I'm totally awake and I never sleep. So you have a decision to make if you're with me on this today. Decide. I would say don't err towards I'm totally awake. Even if you are, just risk it. You might not be as perfect as you might have hoped. So I would say ask yourself this. Are you a person committed to being asleep or waking? And that's kind of cool because no matter what your other astrological archetypes are and your Enneagram types are and whatever other types you could be grouped into, I know that I'm committed already to the archetype of waking. And that's kind of cool. Honestly. Even God understands there are children that are asleep and those that are waking. And wills that they all wake up eventually. That's great news. But I'd rather, if I'm going to choose one, let me be waking and not sleeping. That's why sometimes there's biblical references. Don't be asleep when God comes for you. You see? Because in that moment when you could have had a blissful, boom, epiphany, reaching enlightenment in some form or another, asleep doesn't mean you're literally sleeping in bed. It meant try not to be erring towards the side of acting and thinking from a person who sleeps mentally, spiritually. Do your best to stay awake. Do your best to live the awakening process. So, waking and sleeping. And those, even those who are waking have errors and slipping here and there. Let's accept that. However, People that are sleeping, we have some problems. Because people that are asleep deserve the exact same love as you have for the people you see that are waking. People that are waking should be loved by us because of their commitment to wake up. Don't you agree? People that are asleep, what do they deserve? Love and compassion because they're asleep. What would you want if you were sleeping? Hate? Judgment? I mean, someone help me. Even in a moment when I'm scared and suffering in some way, don't you typically want an answer of some kind? That's what we're talking about. Both groups of people truly want, and deserve love. One, love and appreciation. Thank you for your commitment, man, to be a person who's waking. Or love and compassion when someone isn't living up to that place. And when we look at the group of people that are sleeping, you could say what happens is, Course in Miracles touches on this a little bit, but when people believe they separate from God, they're going to have what's called fear. There's only love and fear. Truly, there's only love and fear. Love means you know who you are, and fear means you've forgotten and now you're afraid. So therefore, you don't want to hate anyone when they're acting up, because they're not really acting up, they're acting out because they're afraid. You know, and you wouldn't say to a child who's had a bad dream, oh, this is going to be bad tomorrow, I'm going to really, punishment for you for being afraid of your dream? That makes no sense. But humans, when they become adults, we're less compassionate. Look, the baby's afraid, had a bad dream. That adult's afraid and had a bad dream. I want them to be punished, but oh, look at the cute baby. It doesn't make sense because they're the same. The adult who acts out is only acting out because they've forgotten who they are and they're afraid. I'm not saying you justify the behavior or make it somehow okay and say, let's have more of it. Sometimes you have to restrain situations and set boundaries on situations. But inside, it doesn't mean you have to hate them. Somehow wishing for them the experience of love because that's what they forgot. It's as simple as that. So all human beings thought we separated from God, and there's only two emotions. When you know who you are, you're in touch with love. When you don't, you're in touch with fear. Fear then refracts into a couple of things. Anxiety or depression. In psychology, you could say there's people that are, the awakened humans, but we let that set. Remember, I said waking humans, waking, and sleeping humans. But when we believe in separation, even when you're waking, and definitely when you're sleeping, the psychological profile would be you're going to suffer from one of two things, neurosis or psychosis. Which one of you is neurotic? Every one of us. Every one of us. Because the neurosis is, now the psychotic, just briefly, the problem and sad thing about any of us living out the psychosis is because a psychotic is going to have problems, but they're going to believe them. They start believing things that aren't there, start telling truths that aren't true. They really are the extreme of separating from God and being in the fear and the sleeping. They're really, no, you have to understand. All of these people are bad. All of that race are bad. All of this, you better watch out or else. They start really believing in it all. And that's the fear perpetuating itself. Is that making sense? But less extreme than the psychotic is the neurotic. And the neurotic is just kind of aware there's a problem. We've separated from God. I'm afraid. We're separated from God. I need to worry about it. And now I'm neurotic. Now, I don't need to worry about it. I need to fix it. I'm neurotic. So the neurotic is going to be the person either overly worrying and trying to fix it or collapsing under it. And then that becomes what we call anxiety and depression. If any of us in this room, and it applies to all of us in this room, there are moments of anxiety. And there are moments of depression. And without realizing it, anxiety is a form of mania. And depression is itself something. So everybody's a little manic depressive. Because if you win the lottery, you're going to be kind of manic. Excited. But if someone steals your lottery ticket, depressed. Everybody swings a little bit. But what we call clinical is when it swings so far out, you start to lose yourself and it takes you. I cannot control the anxiety. Are those bad people? No. I said love and compassion. It is a bummer. It is sad. But our job is to say, despite the way it looks, what are they really calling out for in their psychosis, or if it's a form of, the neurotic or that becomes anxiety or depression. God, I mean, think about it. Stay, like I said before, stay back a little bit. Everybody's just playing roles. They're scared or they're not scared. They're in a state of love or they're afraid that love's not there. And when they're afraid love's not there, they become neurotic or psychotic. Who's the they? All of us. So I want to play a role of waking. And when I see people acting a bit neurotic, it's kind of funny now. Just like the Catholic and the this and that, they're all just chakras. The neurotic is any of the anxiety in any of us or depression. And it happens to all of us. Even if you say, oh man, I'm one of the waking ones. You know how I know that? Because I meditate every day at exactly 2 a.m. in the morning. I meditate and I make sure I meditate for 15 minutes. And Om Mani Padme and Boom Shakalaka and I eat just right. And you're neurotic. I get that you're waking, but you're still a little under the neurotic side. No, I'm not. I'm perfecting myself. That's what neurotics do. You're anxious. That's all you are. You're anxious. Why are you trying to perfect yourself? Because I believe in the spiritual. You're worried. Poor thing. You all right? Well, I was till I talked to you. Now I'm starting to feel depressed. Oh, so you're bipolar like the rest of us. In just one conversation, you swung both, that's called rapid cycling in psychology. See, so sit back and realize, guys, waking and sleeping becomes fear. And fear becomes the psychosis and neurosis, or it becomes the anxiety and the depression. Not clinically depressed people. Yeah, they're included. I'm saying all people. When you start to worry and try to fix yourself, you're becoming kind of neurotic, which is still a belief in the separation. More and more we learn to say, you show me, God. Man, I went this way, I went that way, I tried this, I tried that. Oh my God. I'm kind of exhausted from my spiritual path that was supposed to be filling me. It's exhausted me. And it's kind of interesting because some people, and more likely everybody you could say, but some of us it's not just the neurotic or the depressed, or the anxious or depressed. We clearly go from one to the other to some degree or another. But even in a person's life, it can become full-blown. You can be so depressed that you become anxious. When you realize, I'm depressed, nothing's working, I'm depressed. There's a point where you realize, oh my God, I've now completely lost hope. And it looks like you're going to sink, but you're also suffering from anxiety, even if you don't realize it. But you'll start manifesting anxiety symptoms. You see? And you can be anxious. Got to perfect it. Got to worry. And eventually, you're going to crash. And you'll become depressed. So, do you want to really label these people? Do you want to really label this group from that group, and Catholic from Protestant, and depressed from... We're either waking or sleeping. Waking, thank you for your commitment to waking in a loving, self-forgiving way, not an anxious, neurotic way, a loving kind of a way. Or we're people that are forgetting. And we're falling into the fear, and we're becoming neurotic and anxious and depressed. And you see, it's all the same. Those people deserve love and compassion. Who are those people? Sometimes it's ourselves. Just relax. Go easy on yourself. I'm trying to be the perfect Catholic. Go relax. That's just one chakra. It's just one chakra. I'm kind of depressed. Oh, you mean one of your chakras is a little low today? Let's ask God to help fill that center up. Well, I was going to, but I was going to try to fill it myself. Neurosis. Let's ask God, man. Let's check it out. Let's just go to the source of all life and goodness. Trying to fix it ourselves, even in our spiritual kind of, just one more thing I need to do to become spiritual, is still neurotic. So relax and laugh at this. It is laughable. It really is if you think about it. Just look at the world. Look at the people out there who have to. I've got to go out to the Red Rocks today because that makes me holy. Bring my six-pack, too, in my backpack, you don't know how to fix yourself. Like Einstein said, you can't fix yourself with the same mind that messed you up. It just doesn't work. You need to call on something else, like they say in the 12-step programs. Call on something beyond yourself. So call on the power of the thing that remembers your holiness. Not just something that knows a little more. The internet knows more than you, and it's all messed up. Don't just go out to things that know more. What I'm saying is go out to the thing, too, that remembers everything, the truth of who you are. Go to the thing. And that thing isn't really, we learn, a going out anymore. It's you find it here. Okay, I'll go here. I'll be a hermit and go find myself. You actually can't anchor it till you bring it to others. So all of this started with the idea we're separate. We became groups of souls, and then refracted into individuals. Now we have to learn how to become healthier individuals, filled up with the presence of God more and more, then take that individual skill, your mastery of that, and you still have to bring it to groups. Learning to hang out in groups, women's groups, a 12-step group, a group like the group in this room, a group via the internet. You're still learning to go beyond your own little problems and fixings that are all fake and coming to a place of more and more the truth of God experienced, not just with one, but with more. And beyond that, there's only one more step. Complete oneness again. But this is halfway there. Learning to sit in the collective and be at peace. Being with groups of people and still be at peace. Break bread at lunch with each other after, after the service. Break bread, to be around people at a different capacity. Even in my own life, my own teachings, I can blame my lifestyle because it's very easy to do that. It's very simple. I've been on tour forever, man. I've been on tour for 30-something years teaching in this center, that center, but always on a plane the next day. When I came to Sedona, I'm with the same people every week. So what was I going to do with that? Well, what I'm supposed to do. Take that which I attained in my ability to stay in the moment, get on a plane again, and hold that presence as best I can from town to town. And then it's another challenge to do it with the same people over and over. Is that making sense? It was another lesson. Never one that I was like, oh my God, this is challenging. Just, it was another lesson. It had its challenges in some ways, but just like, okay. So for me to kind of hang out and mingle with folks and, it's a new level of hearing things, talk and gossip and silliness and whatever else, but to do it, you have no idea. You have no idea. It was different. To be brutally honest, at the risk of you all horribly judging me, there were, when I sat in one place long enough and people are like, wow, we really like this guy's teachings. You're going to go through things like, we really like that. That's great. I'd like you just to stay with that. There's also people that go, oh my God, he's so amazing. We have to just have more of him and, try to rip out my hair and take it home and put it in a photo album. Whatever. I actually had someone do that once. But anyway, it was so sick. But it got to the point that it was a little weird the first couple of years, to the point where we had folks, waiting and and pulling, and every week pulling and, it's a weird story to share, but there's a second-story window right there in the back office. A couple of times I had to jump out of to get to my car. That's how weird things got the first year or two I was here. It felt weird, like I'm having to jump out a window, but it seemed like the safest, that's a weird word to use, seemed like the safest, the healthiest thing to do so nobody felt hurt and all that, and so I could get out of here eventually. And then that changed to where I can now come out and hang out with you guys at the tables during lunches. I know it might sound silly and you go, well, this is a weird story. I'm telling you, we all have our tests. We all have our graduations and so forth. For me to have a group of people, a couple hundred every weekend, that we can trust each other at the level we do is not always easy because of the stuff that projects and slips around this way and that way. But I just committed to doing it. And we all have to commit to doing that. Find healthy, safe ways. Well, this wasn't always healthy. A couple individuals weren't quite, okay. But still made it happen. So create the safer groups for yourself. Because if you find ways to stay away from healthier, safer groups, you're staying in the individual time. Always in your home, always locked away. It's actually a lesson you're not getting, and you will have to come back and do it. And I don't mean go into unsafe family units, for example, if you distanced from family. But if you have an unhealthy family, say goodbye and give some distance, but find one that's not unhealthy. You have to find and reverse the process of what became separation and fear. Find people that don't scare you. Create it. By my even telling stories like I have about these bizarre experiences of mine in Sedona, it's helped people to become safer for me to hang out with. Because I've always liked people. And I thought this will be great. But it didn't stay great. People started getting kind of odd. They would literally come over and keep interrupting conversations when I'm talking to some of you. Because they couldn't not be standing right next to me interrupting all the time. And it would be like, you know what? Never mind. Because it's better for you guys to not be interrupted all the time and have these odd behaviors. So I thought, I'll give you guys some space. But then all of a sudden, I'm not with you. So I had to go through my way of finding a way to heal it. Find your way of healing that which keeps you separated. And that includes this room. Make sure you take a moment to hug and say thank you. If you have a healthy family unit at home, let them know once in a while how much you appreciate that they're safe and nice people. Because it's not always like that out there. It's kind of nice. When I sit with people, strangers, and they talk about things I have no interest in, I can say, in high school, I remember more and more having that belief that, man, people just are into really ridiculous things. But I learned to be in love with the people that are really into things. I loved that they loved something, and I don't even care what it is anymore. At one time, I'd be like, that doesn't really make sense. Why would you be into that? But I had to grow out of that too. So find ways to appreciate, to love and appreciate love and mingle with it instead of looking for one more reason to not do something. Find a way to make it safer, your life safer. Even if it's in your workplace. Work what you can to make it fun, safer, and all that. But if it doesn't work, you only change what you can. And accept what you can't. So you've done your work, you feel good, don't judge the people still there, and find another place that's better. Keep coming out into those archetypes to where the archetypes are eventually going to disappear as well. And then everything's done. That make sense today? I pray so, and thanks for enduring that bizarre story. We're going to have a moment of meditation. Setting aside all the stuff of the world, as usual. And even though brief, let's make it vivid. Imagine that we've taken ourselves one with God at one point. One with God. Not even trying to analyze what that means. It's a feeling. One with God. Bliss and love and joy and abundance. One with God. And that means with all. And God is good. It's not a duality. So it doesn't mean one with negative or hate. One with all that's really good. And Good means love-based. One with love. And at some point, we wondered what it's like to be separate from this, which is silly, but we did. Wonder what it's like to be separate from this bliss, this oneness. And imagine we fly away, let's say, from heaven, a dimension, and into the universe. But in the universe, don't see yourself as a little individual. See yourself as a massive being with many beings within you. And we're all in these groups, these archetypes. They later get to be known as God and Goddess archetypes. Aphrodite and Hera and Greek, and Egyptian archetypes and Norse archetypes. They're just describing gods and goddesses and their archetypes that we were once part of. And further into the universe. And imagine seeing Earth in the distance. And as we reach the atmosphere of Earth, we suddenly burst into a countless number of souls. They become you and me. And we enter the Earth plane and we begin incarnating, but seemingly separate. And then take a moment just to look at all the different types of individuals we've had. From the Jesus to the Hitler, mystics, and harmful people. Well known around the planet and individuals in your own home. Mean, some magical. Wise, crude. Imagine what we've seen now, guys. Look in the streets of cities and alleys. The fear people live in, the darkness, and the multi-million-dollar homes. We started as the same, and we're playing all these roles. And it can mean that if someone has a good day, they'll have a bad day. If they had a good lifetime, they might have a bad lifetime. Let's be different by being unique, by not buying into all this right now. And let's say to ourselves in our hearts, not today. Imagine this, not today. And imagine your soul rising out of your body, hovering a bit higher up. A bird's eye view, not today. And imagine looking upon the earth and watching the mansions and the cardboard boxes that some people sleep in disappearing and no longer having that distinction, not today. A country with war and a country without war, not today. Let's retire it all. Retire skin colors. Go as far as you can courageously go. Retiring all the roles. Really, people in hospitals as well as people healthy at gyms, not today. Everyone released. No infirmed, no sick, no limited. And ultimately, no one needing to be anxious or depressed, afraid. Not today. Today we answer all expressions of fear, which is the dualities we know. All expressions of fear answer with love and compassion. Love and respect. Love. Imagine all these beings rising in light with us off the planet. And being now part of a light that has such a bright aura, its aura enmeshes with another aura. They all overlap to where you can't tell us apart anymore. And we become these bright, glorious beings that melds into a bright, glorious being. Just a being. Just this radiant light. Going home, coming home. No one left behind. All of us back to bliss. Are we certain that we have it? That we understand it? All we have to do is this. It's now my commitment to live as though this is my truth. Even while still in the universe and on the earth, I will confirm that this is my new consciousness by practicing it every day. And in this, I truly become a light worker. And we close with imagining how God would feel knowing its children made that commitment. God's not a being, but it is a consciousness. What does that consciousness feel when it knows all its children that refracted and struggled and played roles are giving up the roles to become one again? And that's the greatest gift we can give the heavens. And heaven says thank you. And we say, and so it is.